Time for the KSL In-Depth. Before the battle over Bears Ears, San Juan County already had a beef with the Bureau of Land Management for more than a decade. The county's been fighting for a right-of-way for ATVs in Recapture Canyon. Today, Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke announced he's expanding motorized access, but it's not carte blanche for the county. Our executive producer Dave Cawley is on the story today. He's joining me live in the studio. So help me make sense of this.
Yeah.
Why is this a big deal?
So this is a big deal because the county really sees this fight that's been going back since like 2005, 2006 as evidence of all the problems they've had getting cooperation from the federal government, having, areas really in their backyard. If you're talking about, Recapture Canyon, it's a mile or two outside of town. It's a place where people who have lived there for years would go take their trucks, their ATVs would ride in there. And when the damage happened to some of these archaeological sites back in 2005, the BLM basically said, look, we've got to shut it down. You can't take your ATVs or cars in there. And you might remember, of course, just 3 years ago, a county commissioner was involved in a protest ride over that closure, went in a section of the canyon and was charged federally with trespass, was convicted and went to jail. So on the Doug Wright show today, Doug Wright actually asked this commissioner, Phil Lyman, his thoughts about what's happened here.
What a lot of people don't want to admit is that we went down to the end of the pipeline, turned around and left the canyon, and so this whole notion of a trespass ever having occurred on that section is ridiculous.
Fast forward to today, BLM comes out with this new plan for recapture, and it would make the section where Lyman was open to ATVs.
So the fight continued all that time, and you can see a map of exactly where we're talking about on the KSL News Radio app, sponsored by Any Hour Services. So why does this matter if you don't ride an ATV?
Right. So if you're not somebody who's going to go down here, if you don't live in Blanding and you don't really have a dog in this fight, it's all about kind of the compromise and whether or not you're going to see the federal government and the local government working together. Because I think, as we've seen with the fight over Bears Ears, as you mentioned, and some of the Road to Understanding work that we've done here at KSL, a lot of these communities feel like the federal government's not listening to their concerns. I had a chance to talk to Lisa Bryant from the Bureau of Land Management today about this, and this is kind of what she said. Who wins, who loses with this?
I don't like the term necessarily winners or losers. There are definitely compromises. There are people that will be excited about parts of the decision and not excited about others. This was the best mix of the various trail uses that provided access to the canyon and still protected some of the really, really unique and fascinating archaeological resources, as well as riparian resources.
So now the question is, will anybody challenge this? There's a 30-day period where somebody, say the county, could come in and say, we don't like this plan, we're going to challenge it in court. If that happens, everything's off. Otherwise, we move forward. Everybody gives a little bit. Everybody gets a little bit. Compromise is found in the middle.
So is it happy trails now, or do we have to wait for this final chapter to be written?
It's about 30 days. Then we'll know whether or not construction can begin on this trail system, Jeff.
Thorough as always. There's Dave Cawley live, KSL News Time 550.